Hi everyone and welcome back to the ChromaticKnitS podcast. My name is Michelle and this is my place on the internet where I talk about all of my yarny adventures. I'm so glad to be back. It has been so long. Did you miss me? It's been like 5 months. Yeah. But I'm back. And that's what matters. So, it's a whole new year. I haven't seen you in 2025 yet. So I wanted to go over my 2025 goals, some things I finished, some things I'm working on, and some things I hope to accomplish. So let's get into it because it's a lot. Feel free to grab your own knitting, your laundry, your lunch, whatever it is that you're working on. And let's settle in for some crafty chat, shall we? So first thing, did I set goals for 2025? Yes. Am I going to meet all of them? Probably not. One of them I've definitely already failed. So, no going back on that one. It's a lost cause. And it's only April. So, there you go. So my first goal of the year was to have a no-buy year. Yeah, no. I failed that one within like a couple weeks. So definitely have bought yarn this year. Not a lot, less than normal, but still yarn has come in. So fail. Capital F, fail. But I knew that. Number 2, I'm just looking at my notebook in case you see me looking down, because I have ADHD and I cannot focus on things unless I write them down. So here we are. Number 2, stash down. So I have, what you would say a large stash. Some would say too large of a stash. Some would say as much yarn as your average yarn store. I'm out of stash. It's getting to the point where I literally have nowhere else to put it. And so it's stressing me out and it is making me uncomfortable. So my goal this year is to really use as much of my stash as possible and just try to get some of it like done and used up. So I'll be tracking my grams in, grams out. I will not be talking about that this week. I'm going to try to keep that to once a month or once every other month, because as much as I enjoy math and statistics, I know some people don't. Plus, like, if I have a week or two where I don't really knit, it's going to be like, and the difference is nothing. It's nothing. Or it's basic, like, it could round to nothing. So I want it to be a substantial amount, enough that it looks like I actually did something. If that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to report it every week, in my opinion. So we'll just pretend like we're just starting from now, of what's gone in and what's gone out. Number 3 is keep a project journal. So I do have a project journal where I have written down every project that I've worked on this year, how much yarn I had at the beginning of it, how much I've used, and when I finish it, how much I ended up using for the pattern, as well as like the designer, the pattern, who it was for, the yarn, where did it, who dyed it, what colorway was it, what gauge was it, all of that good stuff. So I actually have been keeping a journal like that. Have I been keeping up with it? No. Because I'm an adult, number 1. Number 2, I don't I like doing it, but I don't just have the time to just sit down and like just do that a lot of the time. It's kind of like in between things. So, or it's like multitasking. So yeah. Number 4 is finish some of my whips. So I have more whips now than I've ever had. Whips / UFOs. So one of my goals is not to finish all of my whips, but to finish at least some of my whips and get my number of whips down to a more manageable number. I haven't counted how many whips I have because just thinking about doing that stresses me out. So, but hopefully you will see some things that I have been working on in the past come back and get finished. And number 5 was just start projects more intentionally. So like I said, I have more whips than I've ever had in my whole life. And just starting more projects just gives me more whips, which makes me more stressed. So just starting, make sure I'm finishing things and starting, you know what I mean? Make sure there's a balance of finishing and starting things. So those are my goals for 2025. Of the 5 goals, one of them is already a fail. And we'll see how the other ones play out for the rest of the year. So, if you have any interesting goals for the year, let me know down below. I might add it. You never know. So I love to hear what your goals for 2025 are or were, or if you failed any of them, or if any of them are going well. I'd like to hear all about that. So please comment down below and let me know. Okay, so I have knitted a bunch of things since the last time I saw you because it's been like half a year, almost. So, I am going to show you some things. Have I sewn in the ends? No. Because I don't particularly like sewing in ends, and I just want to knit. I just want to knit, and I just want to enjoy myself, and sewing in ends is not the way that I do that. But I will never show anything that I have finished that has ends attached. I'm not going to show it to you again, just to show you that I wove in the ends, because that's dumb. I'm not going to do that. But will I feel accomplished? Yes. And are some of these things going to other people eventually? Also yes. So let's start with the first one. So, okay, in 2024, the year that happened before this year, yeah, Casapinka had an MCAL, and it was called Shannon's Road Trip, I think. Yeah. Shannon's Road Trip, where you needed 4 colors. A lot of people did more than 4 colors. I only did 4 colors. And one of my friend Tina, she was like, you know what? We should do it. It'll be fun. So I did it with her. And I finished my Casapinka. I really like it because it has all these like smaller sections. So you feel more accomplished. Because you've done the whole thing, if that makes sense. Because you're just like, oh, I've finished that section. You get this like sense of accomplishment, kind of like when you use your minis and you're like, yes, I've used up a whole mini. And then that is the end of it. So it kind of has, to use a music term, it has an ABA format, meaning that if you look at the beginning and the end, they're basically the same. The only difference is that I didn't use I used the light pink-ish color, purplish color here instead of the dark for the stripes. But that's the only difference. So it starts and ends the same way. And then the middle, so like this flower section, this pressed flower section right here, you only do that once. Like these sections right here, you only do those once. And in case you see that, yes, that is my needle that I'm using to sew in all these freaking ends. Because as you can imagine, switching through all these colors, there are roughly a gazillion ends to this thing. It is lovely. I did use superwash yarn. It's very nice. I don't know. I keep going back and forth of whether or not I want to keep it, because I don't really wear like, okay, so this is a shawl, but it's basically a scarf, okay? And I don't really wear scarves, but maybe I would because I put so much time and effort into this one. I don't know. But if you ever get a chance to do this pattern, would highly recommend. She does give you a whole other, like, so you get, like, the pattern clue, and then you get, like, this file that's, like, part of her, that's, like, documenting her road trip. I didn't read any of that. I'm sure it's great. I couldn't be bothered, to be honest with you. I just could not be bothered. So I was like, I just want to knit. I don't want to read about your vacation. Just me. But anyway, this is done. I just need to sew in the rest of the ends. I've sewn in about maybe a quarter to a third of them so far. And that was like 3 months ago. I had a day where I was like, I'm gonna sew in ends. And then I've never felt like that again. Anybody else get those moments where you're like, I could actually do that today? And then, like, literally every other day for the next, like, following months, you're like, absolutely not. I feel like that about sewing in ends. Or just sewing in general is not my jam. It could be your jam. If it is your jam, more power to you, but I will not be joining. So, that one is done. Next, I have, so for anybody who's been watching for a while, I started making this Advent mitten calendar like a billion years ago, and I made one for my partner. So basically what it is it is a little mitten like this. It's like this one has a 16 at the top. So it's a little colorwork mitten, and you have one for every day of the year, or of every day of December, I should say. So we got 17, got a bunch of these in here. And so there's the Christmas tree. It's very nice. I'm almost done with this set, which will be mine, and then I have one more to knit after this. So I do count these as FOs because they are completed mittens, and I don't wait to say that the whole, like, I don't just call this a whip for the rest of my life until I get a whole, like, the whole thing done, because that would be forever. And B, that would be forever. These things take forever. This thing takes forever. Like, it looks small, but then you actually knit it, and you're like, this is gonna take me a long time. Like, a long, long time. So, yeah. So this is my second time making them. I still have to make them one more time for one of my friends. In a slightly different color scheme. But, yes. So I finished 4 more of those mittens. I'm almost done. I just have a few more days left. Okay. And then, let's see. Oh, so talking about goals. One of my goals for 2024 was that I was going to knit 1 pair of socks a month. So that did not happen. So I was on track. I started out January strong, knit my first pair of socks for the year, and was like, boom, done. And then February, I finished my second pair of socks for the year, and I was like, boom, done. And then I started my March socks and was like, no. So I finished one sock. So I finished this sock in March of 2024. And then I started this sock, and then I abandoned it for roughly 8 months. And I completed this one in January of 2025. So we got there eventually. Okay, fine. It was like 10 months that I abandoned this, according to math. But yeah, so I just had to finish the rest of the foot and the toe. And I did that. So now I have my March socks complete. But you know what? Last year I made that goal and I was like, I'm going to make one pair of socks every month. But I was not very specific. I did not say in 2024. So potentially I could make socks in other months this year and they would count. And then eventually I'd just take 12 years and I'd have 12 pairs of socks. Sometimes you just gotta embrace the chaos. But it's just like vanilla socks, like as much as I love them, they're so boring. But I really wanted to use up some of my self-striping, so I really didn't want to do a pattern. So I was just doing like a patterned sock on the top because it can kind of mess up the stripes a little bit. And so I just did the Crazy Sock Ladies vanilla socks on Magic Loop pattern for all of those pairs of socks, which is a great pattern, love it, but it is so like brain-numbingly mindless that, especially for me, because I have a size 9.5, 10 foot, so it's just like you just knit the foot forever until like your hands stop moving. So yeah, so it's just a lot. So I just needed a break, but we finally finished it, so hooray. What else? Recently, so a couple years ago, I knit a whole bunch of dishcloths for my aunts and uncles and my parents. And so like I knit a bunch and then I had already knit myself a bunch, but then I like ran out of time and I still was short a couple to give away. So I gave away some of the ones that I made for myself. And now I don't really have any. So while I'm working, because when I work, I kind of have to have like mindless things that I can put down at any time, like put down at the drop of a hat and pick up at any time. So I can't have something that's like patterned, because I'll spend the whole time that I have to knit figuring out what I was doing. So I'm just doing Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. You can find it there. And I have 3 of these done so far. I have a 4th one that's partially done, but I just didn't think to grab it, honestly. It's still on my desk. But yeah, so I have 3 and a partial done of those. And I think I'm just going to make like, I don't know, half a dozen maybe? Maybe I'll make some as Christmas presents, who knows? But, so I have those going. I finished, okay, so I think, a water bottle just fell over. Brief pause. That's just the universe telling me to hydrate. Oh my gosh, I gave it pop for Lent. I can't decide if it was the best or the worst decision I've ever made. But those, there are a couple of those like Crystal Light kind of packet things that have like caffeine or energy in them. And man, I have been drinking those like crazy, especially in the mornings. And I'm just like, I'm here. When I roll into work and I'm like, I'm present. I need all the energy I can get because I have a very, like I have a customer service kind of role. So when you're dealing with a lot of people like that, you need a lot of caffeine. Okay. So I think I messed up this pattern. I honestly don't know. Because, okay, so the pattern says that you need like, it says you need 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn. And I had knit about that much. And I had finished the pattern. But I had a whole other skein of yarn left. I would only use 2 skeins, and it was like a really puny, like, it wasn't as big of a shawl as I wanted it to be. So I basically just went back and repeated some of the sections until I got this huge shawl. If you can even see the whole thing. So I think a couple things are the yarn that I chose to use. So I used hedgehog fibers in their Tweety base, and then this was an exclusive color for Jimmy Bean's wool, I think, a couple of years ago that I had in stash. So I went ahead and used this up, and so it's got all these like flecks of other colors, if you can see those in it, because so basically hedgehog fibers, they get scraps from people, like people mail in their fingering weight scraps to them, and then they use them to put into this Tweety. And I don't think it's just fingering weight, I think it's just any scraps. And then the way that this is milled, this yarn is milled, is it is very like, it's a lot closer to hand spun, where it's like thinner in sections, thicker in sections. So something that could be worsted weight could have the gauge of DK, because it's like half worsted, half fingering. It could have, you know what I mean? So the gauge could be off because the thickness isn't consistent on the yarn. So, I don't know, but I do love it. I love the way it turned out. I really like the way it looks. I like the bind off. I like the way it wears. I just roll it a little bit at the top because it's so big. And it's basically like a schlanket. If you want to wear the whole thing, it's like huge. I feel like this part of putting on a shawl is always awkward. You're like, what am I doing? I don't know. But yeah. Let's tuck that under there. And then yeah. So it's a really warm shawl. It's really comfy. Love this yarn. It's very soft and cozy. And I really like this project. Would recommend. And it's mindless enough that you can do it while you're doing other things. So like you could do it while you're talking to people. You could do it while you're hanging out with people. You could do it while you're in a work meeting. It is pretty mindless and memorizable. So would recommend this pattern if you are needing those attributes. The only thing I don't like about it is in this yarn, if you put this on, the flecks of other colors, like the other yarn that they have in here as the Tweety bits, some of them are not, are very short, so they're not twisted into the yarn very well, and so they come off. So you'll like put it on, and then you'll look down, and there'll be like little pieces of yarn that have come off. Or when you're knitting with it, this yarn, you also have like little pieces of the flecks that just fall out of the yarn because they're not twisted in. So as you're knitting, they just like fall out. So on your table or wherever you're knitting, there'll be like these little pieces of yarn everywhere. So if you're not into that, just letting you know that that is a thing that happens with that yarn. So I finished that. So that is a couple of whips done. And then I also finished, so let's see who this is by. Tori Yu has a hat pattern called the Manhattan hat. And one of my friends was going to a very cold climate. I was gonna try and get this done before she left, but it didn't happen. But so basically it's a hat, and then it has like this additional section at the top to stick up. So like my friend always has a bun on her head, so I figured she could use those extra inches for like her bun, so that she could wear this hat and have her bun up on top of her head. This was super mindless, would recommend. It's very stretchy, could fit. It's like a one size fits all kind of situation. And it calls for 1 skein of worsted yarn. So if you have just a random skein of worsted yarn lying around, would recommend this particular yarn, if you can see it very well, is from is Madeline Tosh. It is from Jimmy Bean's wool. It's part of their states. They're like doing a thing where they dye a colorway for each of the states in the United States, and then also some of the provinces. So they have one for like Guam and like Puerto Rico and stuff. And this one in particular is from Michigan, and the person that this is for is from Michigan. So I just thought it was a good match. And she really likes blue. Blue's her favorite color. So yeah, this is kind of coming across like a little darker than it is. It's actually a really light blue. But yeah. So that is it for FOs. So I have finished like 6 things. If you include the dishcloths as one thing, and then the mittens as one thing. So some things are getting finished, so we are kind of working with that goal from 2025. And then I have 3 whips that I'm currently working on now that I have finished those things. And I'm planning to pull out at least one other whip to keep working on it and get it done as soon as possible, because it's been sitting in my stash forever. It's been sitting in my closet forever, and I really just need to get it done. So I have a couple whips like that. So one of them, I have a couple that I'm kind of picking between, but you'll see it next time, because my plan is to make a decision this week and start working on it again. So my first whip is this is the Go-Go Dynamo shawl, which is a pattern by Stephen West. Let me see where I'm at. Okay. So this was the MCAL for the shawl MCAL for 2024 that he does in October. And there are 3 clues. I have finished clues 1 and 2, and I'm on clue 3. So if you haven't done it, I mean, it's been out forever, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like. It just has like honeycomb bubble things, and then it has like bubbles, and then it has like stripes. And then the section that I'm working on right now is the bottom border. No, my needle just fell out. I knew that was going to happen. Brief pause. Because if I don't catch these stitches now, it probably won't happen. But basically, the bottom border of this are these like inverted triangles of the alternating between the contrast color and the main color. So there's only 2 colors for this shawl. So I have like a deep green, and then I have like a green, like a white natural color with green speckles. So if you can see this, so on the bottom there are these triangles. So like there's a triangle there, there's a triangle there, there's a triangle there. So you do the bottom and you do like at least, I don't know, 1 billion triangles to finish out the whole bottom of the shawl. So you got these triangles here. And then they're upside down, but you get the idea. And then you have to pick up the top of it and knit up. Because right now we just have like the middle section, which is like this flat kind of section. So we have to get the curve by doing the top up, and then we have to do the border. So I'm doing the border now. I will eventually finish this. It's pretty mindless to do. But I don't know. Like there's just something in me that's just like I just don't like it. So I am going to power through doing these. Once I get into the groove, I feel like I can do it. It's just not one of those things that like if I put it down and then pick it back up again that I feel comfortable getting into. So there's that. Also, I'm using Cascade Heritage for the main color, that dark green. Would not recommend. It tangles so much. It's so annoying. I will never use it ever again. Just gotta hydrate again. So good. All right. Next whip that I have. This is a long-standing whip. It'll be a long-standing whip forever. But I have made some significant progress on it. Let me take my hook out. Let me make this loop bigger too, so I don't lose it. Okay. So I'm using a G-hook on this, and I'm just making a granny stripe blanket out of DK minis. So last time I showed it, I was where the bluebird donut is that's hanging right there. So I've done everything from there up here. So I've added a few colors. Some of these are from an advent. Some of these are just ones that I just found in my stash. And so I'm just working through them. And then any DK leftovers that I have, I'll also work into here as well. So I have a couple of larger leftovers that I'm just kind of spreading out in this as well. So I like this pattern. It's just when I crochet, my wrist hurts after a little while of doing it. So actually doing it is not very enjoyable for any length of time. So I'm like, oh, I got a stripe done. And then I'm like, maybe not, like, I think we're done. So it's not one that I can just continue to work on for a long time. So I kind of keep starting and stopping it. And then last but not least, this was a Christmas present from my parents. This is they had this special colorway of this bag. This is a Della Q bag by Jimmy Bean's Wool. And, okay, so this pattern and I have kind of a love-hate relationship. This is the Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose. And when I first started this pattern, like a year ago, and I got like 3 of these squares in and had no idea what to do. For the last one, I was very confused, and like I took it to my knit night, nobody could figure it out, and I emailed the designer, and she basically made me feel like an idiot. Like, so I was like, hey, like, I really enjoying your pattern. I just don't understand what to do on this next part. And she sent me an email and she was like, it's written in the pattern. And I'm like, that doesn't answer my question. um, and I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of unprofessional too. So I just have like this kind of like bad taste in my mouth about this pattern. So my friend Tina and Cindy and I have been making this pattern. I'm gonna make a blanket until I don't feel like making it anymore, and I'm just using up some fingering weight scraps and minis that I had lying around, and so yeah, so I'm working on this. I figured I wouldn't buy the pattern. I'm not gonna buy another one of her patterns, but I already own this one, so she's already got my money, so I might as well use it. But that is coming together. And that is all of my current whips, all of my FOs, all of my goals for 2025. And I'm glad to be back. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you are here this long. And if there's anything that you would like me to talk about on this podcast, I would love to bring it up. If you have any questions about knitting or about yarn, I would love to answer those questions. Please just put them down below. Otherwise, I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope that your knitting projects go well. And I hope that you have a wonderful, I hope that you get some time today to just relax and focus on you today and on your craft. I know we don't always get those times, but they are really important. So have a wonderful day. Happy knitting, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye, everybody.